Welcome to my channel. Family should be where the storm stops at the door. But what if that very place is the source of all pain and injustice? Will you choose silence or stand up? Here, I tell you the hidden truths of favoritism and the scars that daughters are forced to endure. But don't leave just yet, because this is only the beginning. Stay tuned to see how I'll make them regret it, and exactly how high a price they'll pay for their cruelty. Stay with me until the very end of this story to see justice served. If you believe the truth must be revealed, hit like and subscribe to stand with me right now.
I'm standing in my penthouse right now, the one I almost lost forever, the one my family tried to steal, the one they told everyone was gifted to my sister for her nonprofit, the one they convinced me I was crazy for fighting to keep. My name is Lunara Brooks, and this is the story of how my parents and my sister conspired to take everything I'd worked for, gaslit me into thinking I was the problem, and nearly succeeded in having me declared mentally incompetent. Also, my younger sister could play entrepreneur with my life's work. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. It's January 2026 now. 8 months since this nightmare began. The view from my window hasn't changed. Elliott Bay still stretches out like a gray-blue mirror. The ferries still cut white lines across the water. The Olympic Mountains still stand guard on the horizon. But everything else is different. I'm different. Let me take you back to where it started. To the moment I should have seen it coming but didn't. To the Thursday evening in late May 2025 that changed everything. I was sitting at this very desk, finishing a video call with my junior developer. Katie was thanking me, again, for covering her deadline while she dealt with a family emergency. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have a job I loved, a team I cared about. And finally, at 29 years old, a home that was completely mine. I'd bought this penthouse 2 years earlier, in 2023, after my small data analytics startup got acquired. Nothing massive. We'd built a tool for mid-sized companies and sold it to a larger firm. My cut was enough for a down payment and 6 months of breathing room. By 2024, I'd been promoted to senior software engineer. I was making it. Actually making it. The Seattle spring rain had finally stopped that afternoon, leaving everything washed clean and new. I stretched, my shoulders protesting after 8 hours in the same chair, and was about to pour myself a well-earned glass of wine when my phone rang. Mom. Eris Brooks. Her name on my screen always triggered a small knot in my stomach. Not because she called often, she didn't, but because when she did, there was usually a reason, a favor, a crisis, a criticism wrapped in concern. Lunara, sweetheart. Her voice had that unusually warm quality, like honey poured over glass.
My name is Renata Martinez, and this is the story of
Can
how I
you
learned
stop
that
by the
sometimes
house
the
this
people who
evening?
gave you life are the same
We'd love to
ones
see
who
you.
try to erase it.
Just a small family update. Nothing serious. Nothing serious. She always said that, usually right before something that tilted my world sideways. What kind of update? I asked, already closing my laptop, already giving in. Oh, family things. We'll explain when you get here. 7 o'clock? There was a part of me that wanted to ask more questions, but there was a larger part. The part that had been trying to earn my parents' approval since I was old enough to understand that their love had conditions, that wanted to believe this was different. That maybe they'd heard about my promotion. That maybe they were finally proud of me. Sure, Mom. I'll be there. By 6:30, I was pulling into the driveway of their Tacoma house. Same beige siding, same manicured lawn, same seasonal flag. Some kind of flower arrangement for late spring. Everything looked exactly as it always had, except for the white Lexus in the driveway. Celia's car. New, I noticed. Or new to her. My 25-year-old sister had never held a job longer than 8 months, but she always had nice things. Designer bags, expensive dinners. Our parents called it finding her path. I'd learned to stop asking questions about where the money came from. I should have turned around right then, should have driven back to my penthouse and never looked back. But I didn't. I walked through that door, and I walked straight into a trap. The house felt different the moment I stepped inside. Staged, somehow. My father, Callan, sat in his recliner pretending to scroll through his phone. My mother emerged from the kitchen wearing lipstick 2 shades too dark and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And Celia, my baby sister, stood near the dining room in a cream sweater I'd seen on her Instagram feed the week before. $400, the tag had said. She smiled when she saw me. Not a warm smile, a victorious one. Lunara, finally! Mom gestured to the sofa like she was seating a stranger. Come sit. The coffee table had been cleared completely. Unusual. My parents' coffee table was normally covered in mail, magazines, Dad's perpetual coffee ring collection, but that evening, it held only one thing. A gold-trimmed gift bag with tissue paper that looked professionally arranged. My heart started beating faster. This wasn't a birthday. This wasn't a holiday. We wanted to do this properly, Mom said, her smile never wavering. This is from the family. I sat, feeling 3 pairs of eyes tracking my movements. Celia's carefully neutral expression. Dad's studied avoidance of eye contact. Mom's too bright smile. I opened the envelope inside the bag. At first, I thought it was a card. Instead, I found a notarized document. Temporary residential agreement. The header read. My name. My penthouse address. A signature line. Empty. And Celia's name listed as interim occupant. The words swam in front of me. I read the page 3 times before I could make sense of what I was seeing. What is this? Celia spoke first, her voice bright and reasonable, like she was explaining something obvious to a child. You've done so well, Lunara. That penthouse, it's incredible. But it's just you there, right? Living alone in all that space. Mom and Dad thought that maybe, while I'm getting my nonprofit off the ground, I could use it, just temporarily. You know, until things stabilize. Stabilize. The word came out flat. She shrugged, a gesture she'd perfected over years of getting her way. Get back on my feet. Launch Building Futures Foundation, my women's empowerment nonprofit. You've always said you'd support me pursuing my dreams. My mother reached out to pat my hand. I pulled it back instinctively. It's temporary, dear. Just until Celia establishes credibility with investors. That penthouse has the prestige she needs. The address alone opens doors. You understand. Wait. I stood up, the document still in my hand. You expect me to move out of my own home? The home I bought? My name is on the deed. We've already spoken to the building management, my father said, finally looking up. His voice was flat, rehearsed, like he'd practiced this line. It's all being arranged. We just need your signature to acknowledge the transition. The room felt like it was tilting. Where am I supposed to go? Grandma Diane's house, Mom said, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. She has that guest room, and she'd love the company. You know how lonely she gets in South Tacoma. Celia beamed. Actually beamed. And you can visit any time. It's not like you're banned. We're family, Lunara. This is what families do. They help each other. I stared at the paper in my hands, at the people who raised me, at the sister who'd never paid rent, never held a steady job, never built anything on her own. Something inside me broke, not loudly, just a quiet, definitive crack. You've already decided this, I said. This isn't a discussion. It's a briefing. Lunara? Mom's smile finally wavered. Is this a request or a demand? Silence. Then my mother's expression shifted, hardening into something I recognized from childhood, the look that meant the conversation was over, and I'd better comply. It's already done, sweetheart. The paperwork has been filed with your building. We just need you to acknowledge it. Sign the form. I flipped through the pages again. My hands were shaking now. The first page was titled, Acknowledgement of Temporary Guardian Designation. The next 2 pages were dense with legal language about voluntary transfer of occupancy rights and emergency contact authorization modification. If I sign this, I'm agreeing to give up my home. Semantics, Celia said, examining her manicured nails. Legal semantics, I shot back. My father finally stood up, his face pained but resigned. Lunara, your sister needs this. You have your career, you're stable, successful. She's trying to build something meaningful. Can't you just help? Like you always do? That phrase, like you always do. Because I did. I always helped. I'd lent Celia $3,000 in 2022 that she never paid back. I'd co-signed my parents' car loan in 2020. I'd taken care of Dad after his surgery in 2019 while Celia complained about the hospital smell and left after 30 minutes. I'd helped. Over and over. And it was never enough. Standing there in that living room, I felt exhausted. Bone-deep tired. Tired of fighting for scraps of approval. Tired of being the responsible one. Tired of proving I deserved to exist in this family. So I made a mistake. I signed it.
And this is stories of how I understood what I was signing. Sometimes the people who gave you life are the stuff who train you to erase it.
But because I wanted to believe that if I just cooperated one more time, if I just helped one more time, maybe they'd finally see me. Maybe they'd finally appreciate me. There, I said, scrawling my signature across the bottom of the first page. Happy now? Mom's smile returned instantly. She tucked the papers into a folder with practiced efficiency. We knew you'd understand. You've always been so logical, Lunara. So mature. Celia was already on her phone, texting someone. Probably already planning her Instagram announcement. When do I need to be out? My voice sounded hollow. This weekend would be ideal, Mom said. Celia's investors want to tour the space Monday morning. 3 days. They were giving me 3 days to pack up my entire life. I didn't say anything else. I grabbed my coat and walked out while they were already discussing paint colors for what they were calling Celia's office. I sat in my car in their driveway for 15 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. My phone buzzed, a notification I'd missed during dinner. Hi, Ms. Brooks. This is David Park from Cascade View Management. Just confirming the occupancy modification request we received from your registered emergency contact. We'll process Monday per the uploaded authorization. Let me know if you have questions. They'd already filed it, before I even signed. The signature was just theater. They were going to do this whether I cooperated or not. The drive to Grandma Diane's house felt like descending into a different world. The neighborhoods changed from neat lawns to chain-link fences, from fresh paint to weathered wood. Grandma's street looked like the city had forgotten it existed. Potholes in the asphalt. Streetlights that flickered more than they illuminated. The smell of rain-soaked wood mixing with something industrial from the port. Her porch light cast everything in sickly yellow. I knocked 3 times before she answered. She squinted through the screen door, her nightgown hanging loose on her 78-year-old frame. Lunara? Hi, Grandma. My voice cracked. Can I stay here for a while? Mom said, Nobody told me you were coming. She stepped aside anyway. Come in. The house smelled like cedar and menthol and old things left undisturbed. Wallpaper peeling in corners. A hallway light bulb buzzing overhead. Family photos on the walls, their frames slightly askew. The back room, she said, leading me down the narrow hallway. I keep things stored there, but there's a cot. She opened a door at the end of the hall, and my stomach sank. It wasn't a guest room. It was storage. Plastic bins stacked against walls. An old box fan with a broken blade. Cardboard boxes labeled in fading Sharpie. One of them clearly read, Celia, High School. A cot leaned against the wall, folded. A small table held a lamp that looked older than me. The window was cloudy with grime. "I'll leave you to settle in," Grandma said, already shuffling away. I unfolded the cot. The metal frame groaned. I sat down, and the thin mattress immediately let me feel every spring beneath it. That's when I saw the photo on the wall. Celia at 16, wearing a homecoming queen crown, smiling like the universe had arranged itself around her. And maybe it had. Below the photo sat a mug on the dusty table, pale yellow with a chipped handle. World's best sister. I remembered that mug, part of a set from our aunt. Mine had said world's sister. Just that. No best. I'd thought it was a typo at the time. Now I wondered if it had been deliberate. I lay back on the cot, staring at water stains on the ceiling, listening to pipes groan somewhere in the walls. The rain started again outside, a soft drumming that should have been soothing but only made me feel more alone. I hadn't been expected. I hadn't been prepared for. I'd been stored. Like the boxes. Like Celia's old high school junk. That's when I cried. Not dramatic sobs. Just quiet tears sliding down my temples into my hair. In a dark room in a crumbling house. While my family celebrated in the home I'd built. Morning came harsh through blinds that didn't quite close. I woke with my neck screaming and my back in knots. The cot had definitely not been designed for actual sleeping. I sat up and rubbed my eyes, trying to orient myself to this new reality. That's when I noticed the smaller photo tucked behind Celia's homecoming portrait. Me at age 10, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a drawing. Not framed, just tucked into the corner of someone else's frame. On the table, pushed behind the best sister mug, was another one. Pale blue with a chip on the lip. I picked it up and turned it over. In child's handwriting, Lunara's tea time. I'd painted this in 4th grade. Grandma had kept it, but she'd kept it in the back. A soft knock. "You want toast?" "Sure, Grandma." She peeked in, then paused. Her eyes went distant. "Celia, honey, I'm Lunara," I said quietly. "Oh." She blinked, focusing. Of course, my mistake. She was old. Memory slips happen. But combined with everything else, it felt like confirmation. I was the forgettable daughter. The replaceable one. I followed her to the kitchen and forced down weak coffee and dry toast, staring at linoleum that curled at the edges. My phone sat face down on the table. I didn't want to look at it. Didn't want to see whatever Celia had already posted about her space. But then it buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in quick succession. I flipped it over. The first message was from Cascade View HOA. "Hi, Ms. Brooks. Confirming your mail forwarding request effective Monday. All correspondence will be redirected to the address provided." I never requested mail forwarding. The second was from my bank. Unusual activity alert. Someone attempted to add a secondary account holder to your checking account. Request denied pending verification. The third was from David Park, the building manager. "Good morning, Ms. Brooks. Following up on yesterday's message. The transition is proceeding as scheduled. Ms. Celia Brooks will pick up keys this afternoon. As discussed, you have until Sunday to collect personal items. Building security has been notified of the occupancy change." My hands started shaking. I called the building office. 4 rings before someone picked up. "Cascade View Management, David speaking." "David, this is Lunara Brooks. I need to understand something. I never submitted a mail forwarding request." Papers shuffling on his end. Ms. Brooks, the request came through your registered secondary contact. According to our records from your 2023 emergency contact form, they have authorization for various account modifications including, let me check, yes, mail forwarding and occupancy updates. Who's my secondary contact? Celia Brooks. The room spun slightly. The emergency contact form. When I'd purchased the penthouse, the building required emergency contacts. People to notify if I was in an accident or unreachable. I'd listed my parents and Celia. Standard procedure. I never imagined they could use it for this. David, emergency contact authorization is for emergencies. It doesn't give someone the right to change occupancy. A pause. Longer this time. Uncomfortable. Ms. Brooks, I understand your confusion. However, your parents submitted updated documentation last week. A properly notarized modification agreement. Your signature is on file. Everything appears to be in order. The dinner. That envelope. Mom's casual, just some logistics paperwork, while sliding it next to my wine glass. The pages I'd barely glanced at, tired after a long day, trusting that my family wouldn't trick me. I need to see that documentation, now. I can email it to you within the hour. Do that. I hung up and immediately called my mother, straight to voicemail. I texted, call me now, called my father. One ring, then voicemail. He'd declined it. Texted Celia. What did you do? Red receipt appeared within seconds. No response. 5 minutes later, my mother finally texted back. Everything is fine, dear. Don't stress yourself. We're handling this as a family. Family. That word had become a weapon. I sat at Grandma's kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework as a child while Celia watched TV in the other room, and pulled out a notebook from a drawer. I started writing. Everything. The date, the time, every phone call, every conversation, every detail I could remember about that dinner, about the documents, about what they'd said and what they'd carefully avoided saying. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being careful. Because if my family was willing to forge documents to take my home, what else were they willing to do? That's where part 1 of my story ends. I know it's hard to hear. I know some of you are probably wondering why I signed that paper, why I didn't fight harder in that moment. Trust me, I've asked myself the same questions 1,000 times. But here's the thing about family manipulation. It doesn't happen all at once. It's built on years of conditioning, of being told you're selfish for having boundaries, of believing that love means sacrifice even when the sacrifice is only ever yours. I was 29 years old, successful, intelligent, and I still walked into that trap because I wanted to believe my family loved me. If that resonates with you, if you've ever been gaslit by the people who were supposed to protect you, please hit that subscribe button. Stay with me until the end of this story. I promise you, it gets worse before it gets better. But it does get better. 3 days after that dinner, I was still at Grandma Diane's, sleeping on that awful cot when the email came. The subject line read, "You don't know me, but I know what they did to you." My finger hovered over the delete button. Spam. Had to be spam. But something made me open it. Ms. Brooks, my name is Brandon Shaw. I dated your sister for 18 months. I'm not reaching out for revenge, though I won't pretend I don't want to see her face consequences. I'm reaching out because she's about to scam a lot of people, and I can't have that on my conscience. I have proof of what they did to you. Call me. A phone number, and an audio file attached. I Googled him first. Brandon Shaw, 27, venture capital associate at a mid-sized firm in Seattle. His LinkedIn showed he'd worked with several successful startups. Recent post from 3 weeks ago. Sometimes walking away is the strongest move you can make. #new chapter. I stared at the audio file for 10 minutes before I opened it. The timestamp showed it was recorded January 10th, 2025, 5 months before that dinner at my parents' house. I hit play. Celia's voice came through, crystal clear. She was on the phone with someone. With Mom. "She'll sign it," Lunara always does what she's told when she thinks it's family duty. And if she fights back? That was Eris, my mother. She won't. She's too logical. She'll try to solve it rationally first, and by then we'll have everything locked in. The building manager is already on board. What about the investors you've been courting? They're expecting the nonprofit to launch in September. I'm asking for 6-month commitments minimum. By the time they realize there's no actual organization, we'll be gone. Different city, maybe different name for the foundation. Celia. Mom's voice held warning, but not the kind that meant stop. The kind that meant be careful. Mom, you need this as much as I do. You're the one who took out the second mortgage. Silence on the recording. Then, I know. God, I know. But if Lunara finds out, she won't. She never looks deep enough. She'll be hurt, she'll be angry, but she won't dig. That's not who she is. The recording ended. I played it 3 more times, my hands shaking harder with each replay. Second mortgage. My parents had taken out a second mortgage. On what? Their house was paid off. Dad had made a point of that when he retired early from his accounting job. I called Brandon immediately. He picked up on the first ring. Ms. Brooks, why are you doing this? My voice came out harder than I intended. Why now? Because I was at your sister's apartment that day. She didn't know I was there. We were on a break, but I still had a key. I heard that conversation and I recorded it because I was already suspicious of her. When I confronted her later, she broke up with me. Said I was too controlling for questioning her business model. What business model? Exactly. His laugh was bitter. There was no business model, just a pattern. She'd done this before, Lunara. Multiple times. I did research after we broke up. 3 women in the past 6 years. Similar schemes, similar outcomes. My stomach turned. Tell me. Over the next hour, Brandon Shaw told me everything. Celia's college roommate, 2018. Convinced her to co-invest in a mentorship app. The girl provided $35,000 from an inheritance. The app never got built. The money vanished. When the roommate tried to get it back, Eris, my mother, hired a lawyer who threatened to countersue for defamation. The girl dropped it. Dropped out of college. Never finished her degree. A friend from Celia's brief stint in marketing, 2020. Borrowed $15,000 for a pop-up retail experience. Never happened. Friend took her to small claims court. Celia claimed it was a gift. Judge ruled there wasn't enough evidence. Friend lost. A boyfriend in 2022. Celia convinced him to let her manage his Etsy business while he traveled for work. Cleaned out the account. $7,200. He was too embarrassed to press charges. And now you, Brandon said quietly. But this time, she's not going for thousands. She's going for hundreds of thousands. She's already collected money from 6 investors. I know because 3 of them are people I introduced her to before I understood what she was doing. How much? Last I checked, about $180,000. She's promising them equity in a nonprofit that doesn't exist. That's securities fraud, Lunara. Federal level. And my mother knows? Your mother is an active participant. That's what that recording proves. The second mortgage? I did some digging. Your parents took out a $200,000 home equity loan last October. The money's gone. All of it. Gone where? Brandon paused. Your mother has a gambling problem. Online poker, sports betting. Your father didn't know until the loan was maxed out. By then, it was too late. Celia promised to split the investor money with Eris. That's why she's so committed to this scheme. If it fails, they lose the house. I couldn't speak, couldn't process. My mother, the woman who'd lectured me about financial responsibility my entire life, had gambled away $200,000? Why are you telling me all this? I finally asked. Because Celia told me once, she'd been drinking, that she'd done this before and gotten away with it because her victims were too nice to really fight back. She said you were predictable, that you'd disappear quietly, and I can't watch her do this again. He sent me more files, bank transfers between Eris and Celia, screenshots that Brandon had taken of Celia's pitch deck, my penthouse featured prominently, listed as donated real estate asset valued at $500,000. A timeline of her past schemes with contact information for 2 of the 3 previous victims. There's one more thing, Brandon said before we hung up. Celia's planning something big, June 24th, an investor showcase at your penthouse. She's asking for $500,000 minimum commitments. 15 confirmed attendees. That was 3 weeks away. So, the next morning, I met with a lawyer. Vanessa Chen had been recommended by a college friend. She specialized in family law and fraud cases. Apparently, those 2 things overlapped more often than I'd realized. I sat in her downtown office overlooking Pike Place Market and laid out everything. The documents I'd signed, the recording from Brandon, the building manager's messages, the pattern of past victims. Vanessa listened without interrupting, taking notes in neat shorthand. When I finished, she sat back and studied me. "This is bigger than I initially thought," she said. "We're potentially looking at wire fraud, securities fraud, tax fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. If any of those investors are from out of state, it becomes federal. What do I do? First, we file a cease and desist with your building management. Second, we file a formal objection to the occupancy transfer with the county. Third, we prepare a civil suit. And fourth," she paused, her expression serious, "we need to be ready for them to come after you." "What do you mean?" "When people are cornered, they lash out. Your family will likely claim you're unstable, vindictive, jealous. They'll try to discredit you before you can expose them. It's textbook." "I can handle it." Vanessa's look said she wasn't sure I could. But she started drafting documents anyway. That was Monday. By Wednesday, everything Vanessa predicted came true. My mother posted on Facebook that afternoon. "Heartbroken today. Being a mother means loving your children even when they hurt you. Sometimes mental health struggles manifest as anger toward those trying to help. Praying for my daughter's healing. Hashtag mental health matters. Hashtag family first." The comments flooded in within minutes. "Stay strong, Eris. You're such a good mother. I always thought that daughter had issues. Some people can't handle success without it going to their heads." Celia's post was more subtle. A photo of her in my penthouse, my artwork visible in the background, with the caption, "Sending love to those battling their inner demons. Boundaries are self-care." My cousin Madison was the first to text me. "What the hell is going on? My mom is getting calls asking if you're okay. Your mom is telling people you had a breakdown." Then my Aunt Sharon texted, "Lunara, honey, we're all worried about you. If you need help, there are resources. No shame in it." I'd never been to therapy, never taken psychiatric medication, never had any kind of mental health crisis beyond normal stress. But my family was writing a narrative, and people were believing it. The worst came Thursday morning. A courier delivered court documents to Grandma's house, petition for temporary financial guardianship, filed by Eris and Callan Brooks. The petition claimed I was experiencing erratic behavior and paranoid delusions, that I had a history of poor judgment and isolation, and that I'd made threats against family members. They were requesting temporary control of my financial accounts, pending psychiatric evaluation. The hearing was scheduled for June 22nd, 2 days before Celia's investor showcase. I called Vanessa immediately. "They're trying to take everything." "I know," she said grimly. "I got a copy too. This is a strategic move. If they get guardianship, They control your assets, including the penthouse deed. What do? We fight, and we find every piece of evidence we can between now and that hearing. That's when I started reaching out to Celia's past victims. The first one I found was Jenna Martinez, the college roommate from 2018. She was living in Portland now, working as a barista. When I called, she was silent for a long time after I explained who I was. "I don't know if I want to relive this," she finally said. "She's doing it again, to me. And she's about to do it to 15 investors who think they're funding a real nonprofit." Longer silence. "Okay, but I'm recording this call too." Jenna's story was worse than Brandon had described. Celia hadn't just taken her money, she'd systematically destroyed her life. Convinced her the app investment was our secret girl boss move. Made her feel special, chosen. Then, when Jenna asked for the money back, Celia turned their entire friend group against her. Told them Jenna was obsessed with her, mentally unstable, making things up for attention. The same words Eris was using about me now. "Your mom co-signed Celia's statement to the lawyer," Jenna told me. "Said I had fixated on Celia and was making delusional accusations. Same language she's using about you now, right?" My blood ran cold. "Yes." "Will you testify?" I asked. "At my guardianship hearing?" A long pause. "If you promise to actually stop her this time, I can't watch her do this to someone else and do nothing." "I promise." Basai. 3 days before the hearing, something happened that changed everything. I was at Grandma's kitchen table, organizing documents for Vanessa, when Grandma shuffled in with her tea. It was late, past 11, but neither of us could sleep. "You know why your mother is the way she is?" she asked suddenly. I looked up. Grandma rarely talked about Mom's childhood. Eris was my middle child, always competing with her sisters. Never felt special enough, smart enough. When she married Callan, I thought he'd ground her. He was stable, kind. She paused, sipping her tea. I was wrong. She reached into a kitchen drawer and pulled out an envelope. Old, yellowed at the edges. "I should have given you this before." Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting, dated September 2019, addressed to Grandma Diane. "Mom, I don't know what to do. Eris is taking money from Lunara without telling her. She opened a credit card in Lunara's name last year. I only found out because I saw the statements. When I confronted her, she said it was family helping family, and that Lunara owed us for raising her. I'm scared. I don't know how to stop this without destroying our marriage. But watching Eris teach Celia these same behaviors, it breaks my heart. Lunara deserves better. I'm a coward for not standing up. I know that. But I don't know how to be brave." My hands trembled holding the letter. He knew. This whole time, he knew. "That's why I kept it," Grandma said softly. "I thought maybe one day you'd need proof that someone in this family saw the truth."
Vocal delivery.
"Grandma, there's something else." She reached back into the drawer. "That credit card he mentioned? I don't think it's the only one. You should check your credit report." I pulled it up on my phone right there at the kitchen table. My credit score was good. I'd always been careful. But when I scrolled through the accounts, my stomach dropped. 3 credit cards I'd never opened. One from 2019. One from 2021. One from 2023. Total debt, $47,000. All in my name. All accessed by someone who had my social security number. I called Vanessa at midnight. "They've been committing identity theft for 6 years. File a police report first thing tomorrow," she said. "This changes everything for the hearing." Anit, June 22nd, 2025. King County Courthouse. 9 a.m. The guardianship hearing. The room was small, formal, oppressive. Commissioner Patricia Walsh presiding, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. Present, me and Vanessa. Eris and Callan with their attorney, Richard Holloway. Expensive suit, slicked back hair. Uncle Robert in the gallery supporting me. And Celia, sitting in the back row like she was watching a show. Holloway went first. He painted a picture of a daughter spiraling out of control, presented my aggressive text messages, all carefully excerpted to remove context. A statement from a family friend saying I'd seemed paranoid at Christmas. Callan's testimony about how I wasn't myself lately. Then Eris took the stand. She actually cried. Real tears. "We just want to help her," she said, voice breaking. "She's worked so hard, maybe too hard. Burnout can cause paranoia. Everyone knows that. We love her. We just want to protect her from herself." It was a masterful performance. Commissioner Walsh looked at me. "Ms. Brooks, how do you respond?" I stood. My legs were shaking, but my voice was clear. "Your Honor, this petition isn't about my mental health. It's about concealing fraud." Vanessa stood beside me. "Your Honor, we have evidence that this petition is entirely fabricated. May I present?" She laid it out methodically, one piece at a time. First, Brandon's recording of Celia and Eris planning the scheme. Second, the forged guardianship documents, with a handwriting expert's affidavit showing the signature had been obtained under false pretenses. Third, Uncle Robert's financial evidence showing the tax fraud scheme, my penthouse being claimed as a charitable donation. Fourth, the FBI case number. We'd filed 2 days prior. Fifth, police report for identity theft. The credit cards. Sixth, Jenna Martinez's written testimony from 2018. The room got very quiet. "Your Honor," Vanessa said, "I'd like to call Jenna Martinez via video testimony." The screen lit up. Jenna appeared, sitting in what looked like her living room. She told her story clearly, calmly. When she finished, she looked directly at the camera. "Mrs. Brooks told me the exact same thing she's telling the court now, that I was unstable and paranoid. 6 months later, she was helping Celia do the same thing to someone else. This is a pattern of behavior, Your Honor. They destroy people who get in their way." Commissioner Walsh looked at Eris, then at Callan. Her expression was carved from ice. "Mr. Brooks, you're an accountant, correct?" Callan shifted in his seat. "Yes, Your Honor." "Did you review documents related to this alleged nonprofit?" Yes, but..." "Did you know the penthouse was being claimed as a charitable donation for tax purposes?" Silence. "Answer the question, Mr. Brooks." Eris said it was legal. She said the accountant she consulted. "So you did know." He looked at Eris. Something in his expression cracked. "I didn't want to do this," he said quietly. "Any of this. I tried to tell her it was wrong, but she said we'd lose everything if we didn't." "That's enough," Eris snapped. But it wasn't enough. It was everything. Commissioner Walsh removed her glasses. "I've heard enough. The petition for guardianship is denied. Furthermore, I'm issuing a protective order. Petitioners are barred from accessing any of Ms. Lunara Brooks' financial accounts, property, or assets. Ms. Brooks, I'm sorry you had to experience this." In the hallway after, Callan approached me. His eyes were red. "I'm sorry. Lunara, I'm so sorry." I looked at him. This man who'd known for 6 years that my identity was being stolen and said nothing. Who'd watched his wife and younger daughter plot to take my home and stayed silent. "Grandma showed me your letter," I said. "The one you wrote in 2019. You knew about the credit cards, Dad. You knew, and you did nothing for 6 years. His face drained of color. You had one job: protect your kids. You failed. I walked away. Uncle Robert followed, his hand on my shoulder. Behind us, I heard Callan say something to Eris. Her voice rose, sharp and defensive, but I didn't look back. June 24th, 2025, 7 p.m. My penthouse. Despite losing the guardianship hearing, Celia went ahead with her investor showcase. She still had keys. The building hadn't processed the eviction order yet. David Park, the building manager, called me at 6 p.m. Ms. Brooks, there's an event happening in your unit right now. Catering trucks. 15 people in formal wear. I thought you should know. I had a choice. Let it happen and gather more evidence, or stop it now. I chose to stop it. I arrived at 8:15 p.m. with Vanessa, Uncle Robert, and Madison filming everything on her phone. I used my key and walked in mid-presentation. Celia stood at a podium near my windows, a screen behind her showing a PowerPoint titled Building Futures, an Investment in Change. And that's why Building Futures Foundation represents not just an investment in women, but an investment in... She saw me. The room went silent. Hi, everyone, I said calmly. I'm Lunara Brooks. This is my apartment. Confused faces. A woman in a designer suit frowned. Wait, you're... Celia said this was her space, that her family gifted it to her. Did she? I held out my hand. Can I see the investment contracts you signed? Vanessa stepped forward. I'm Ms. Brooks' attorney. If anyone here has transferred funds to Building Futures Foundation or to Celia Brooks personally, you should know. This property is not hers. The nonprofit does not legally exist. The SEC has been notified. Your funds may be recoverable if you report within 24 hours. She handed out business cards. This is insane! Celia's voice was shrill now. Lunara, you're sabotaging... Building manager, I called. David Park stepped in from the hallway where he'd been waiting. Legal owner of this property is Lunara Brooks. Ms. Celia Brooks has no legitimate claim to occupancy. Eviction notice was served yesterday. I pulled out my phone and played Brandon's recording on speaker. Celia's voice filled the room. She'll disappear. She always does. Then I win. People started gathering their things. A woman in the back, older, professionally dressed, stopped in front of Celia. You told me your family gave you this space to honor your vision. You said your sister was supportive. I gave you $50,000 last week. Celia opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Take my card, Vanessa told the woman. We're coordinating with federal prosecutors. By 8:45, the apartment was empty except for us, and Celia sitting on my couch, staring at nothing. You need to leave, I said. She looked up at me. For the first time, I saw something other than calculation in her expression. Fear, maybe. Or the realization that she'd finally gone too far. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Dan. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal proceedings. The FBI opened a formal investigation. Wire fraud charges filed against Celia. Tax fraud investigation into Eris and Callan. 11 out of 15 investors agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Total investor loss, $340,000. Some of it had already been transferred overseas. Then the media got involved. A journalist named Elise Morgan had been following the story. She published an expose in the Seattle Times, The Penthouse Scheme, how one woman's nonprofit was built on family fraud. The article detailed everything. My story, Jenna's story, the pattern of Celia's behavior, Eris's gambling debts, the full timeline. It went viral. National news picked it up. Celia's Instagram went private, then disappeared entirely. Messages of support flooded my LinkedIn. Hundreds of people sharing their own stories of family fraud. Companies reaching out with job opportunities. Women thanking me for speaking up. My family imploded. Eris doubled down, posting a long Facebook manifesto claiming I'd destroyed the family and was colluding with enemies. Few people believed it anymore. Callan moved out. Filed for divorce. Came to live temporarily with Uncle Robert. The extended family split, half believing Eris's version, half supporting me. Imaita. Late August 2025. Sentencing day. Celia had taken a plea deal. 2 counts of wire fraud. 18 months federal prison. 3 years probation. $340,000 restitution. Banned from serving on any nonprofit boards. At sentencing, the judge asked if she had anything to say. I apologized to those I hurt, Celia read from a prepared statement. Her voice was flat, rehearsed. I take full responsibility. Then it was my turn. Victim impact statement. I stood and read what I'd written. Celia didn't just steal money or property. She stole trust. She weaponized family. She taught me that blood relation doesn't guarantee safety. But she also taught me something else. I'm stronger than I thought. To everyone who's been gaslit by someone they love, know this. Your clarity is not cruelty. Your boundaries are not betrayal. Standing up for yourself is not selfish. Eris and Callan had their own sentencing. Eris. 6 months home detention. $50,000 fine. Mandatory gambling treatment. Callan. Probation only. He'd cooperated with prosecutors. Their house was foreclosed 3 months later. The divorce was finalized by November. And now it's January 2026. I'm sitting in my penthouse, my home, telling you this story. Uncle Robert has become the father figure I needed. Madison is one of my closest friends. We started a podcast together about surviving family trauma. Grandma Diane moved into assisted living by her own choice. I visit every week with tea and photo albums. Jenna Martinez went back to college, finished her degree. Sent me her graduation photo with a note. We both graduated this year. Just different kinds of degrees. The penthouse feels like mine again. I repainted, rearranged everything, planted herbs on the balcony, installed new locks, made it a home again, not a crime scene. The call came on a Tuesday morning in early July. I was making coffee, standing in my kitchen, my actual kitchen, in my actual home, watching the sun break through the clouds over Elliott Bay. 6 months had passed since Celia's sentencing. 6 months of rebuilding. 6 months of finally breathing. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Ms. Brooks? A woman's voice. Official. This is Federal Corrections calling to inform you that Celia Brooks was released this morning under supervised parole. Per victim notification requirements. The rest of her words blurred together. Released. Early. Good behavior. Overcrowding. Some bureaucratic excuse that meant the 18-month sentence had become 9 months. She was out. I thanked the woman and hung up. Stood there holding my coffee mug with both hands, waiting for the panic to hit. It didn't come. Instead, I felt something else. A quiet, solid certainty. She couldn't touch me anymore. Getend. 3 days later, she tried. The voicemail came at 11 a.m. Lunara, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm out, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of therapy. Court-ordered, but it actually helped. I need to talk to you, please. Just once. I'm not asking for anything except 20 minutes. Please. Her voice sounded different. Smaller. Tired. I deleted the message. Then spent the next hour staring at my phone, second-guessing myself. Finally, I called Vanessa. Should I meet with her? Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Only if you want closure, not if you think she's changed. People like Celia don't change in 9 months, Lunara. They just get better at performing remorse. I think I need to do this, for me. Then bring a witness. Public place. And record it. Washington is 2-party consent, so tell her you're recording at the start. I texted Celia that night. Pike Place Starbucks, Thursday 2 p.m. Madison will be with me. This is your 20 minutes. Her response came in seconds. Thank you. I'll be there. Tante. Thursday arrived gray and drizzly. Typical Seattle summer. Madison and I got there 15 minutes early, claimed a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. You sure about this? Madison asked, stirring her latte. No, but I'm doing it anyway. Celia walked in at 2:03. She looked different. Thinner. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of those carefully styled waves. No makeup. A plain gray sweatshirt and jeans. She looked like someone who'd learned to be invisible. She sat down across from me. Her hands shook slightly as she wrapped them around the coffee cup she'd brought. Thank you for meeting me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I'm recording this conversation, I said. Do you consent? She nodded. Yes, I consent. I placed my phone on the table between us, red recording light visible. You have 20 minutes. She took a breath. I've been in therapy. Actual therapy this time, not just checking a box for the court. And I've realized I did terrible things, not just to you, to Jenna, to those investors, to everyone I've ever... Her voice cracked. I wanted to apologize, really apologize. Not because I want anything from you, but because you deserve to hear it. I'm sorry. I waited, didn't fill the silence, didn't make it easier for her. I'm trying to get back on my feet, she continued. I have a job interview next week. Retail, nothing glamorous. But I need a reference. Someone who can vouch that I'm... No. The word came out flat. Final. She blinked. Lunara, please. I'm trying to... I'm not a step in your redemption arc, Celia. You don't get to use me to feel better about yourself. I'm not trying to use you. I'm asking for help. From my sister. No. I leaned forward. You were born to the same parents as me. That doesn't make you my sister. Sisters don't steal each other's homes. Sisters don't commit identity theft. Sisters don't spend 6 years systematically destroying someone's life. Tears started forming in her eyes. Real ones, maybe. Or just well-practiced. So that's it? You'll never forgive me? Maybe someday I will forgive you. I haven't decided yet. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, Celia. It doesn't mean I owe you anything. It means I'm letting go of what you did. For my peace, not yours. Do you understand the difference? She stared at her coffee. Mom said you overreacted. She said if you'd just been more understanding about the financial pressure we were under. That's when something snapped. Mom is still gambling, I said quietly. Did you know that? She's living in a studio apartment in Kent, working at a call center, and she's still betting on her phone every night. That's who you're taking advice from. A woman who can't stop destroying herself long enough to see she destroyed everyone around her. Celia's face went pale. Madison stood up. Lunara, we should go. I picked up my phone, stopped the recording, and stood. Wait, Celia said desperately. I just need... You need to figure out your own life without using other people as stepping stones. That's what you need to do. I walked out. Madison followed. In the parking lot, she put her hand on my arm. You okay? I took a breath. The air smelled like rain and salt water and freedom. Yeah, actually I am. And that night, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Hand-delivered, left with the front desk. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Callan. My father. I almost threw it away. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on my couch, and opened it. Dear Lunara, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm writing because I need to say things I should have said years ago, and I'm running out of time to say them. The divorce was finalized last week. I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment in Olympia, working part-time as a bookkeeper. Your Uncle Robert barely speaks to me. I don't blame him. You were always the strong one, the capable one, and I used that as an excuse not to protect you. I told myself you could handle it, that you didn't need me the way Celia did. The truth is, I was a coward. Your mother scared me. The idea of losing her scared me more than the idea of failing you. That shame will follow me until I die. Do you remember Thanksgiving 2010? You were 14. Your mother and Celia went shopping on Black Friday and didn't come home until late. You cooked the entire dinner by yourself because I said I would help, and then I fell asleep watching football. I woke up and found you crying in the kitchen at midnight, washing dishes. You thought no one saw. I did, and I said nothing. I went back to bed. When you paid for my hospital bills after my surgery in 2019, you were 22 years old, working 2 jobs. Celia visited once. For 30 minutes. She couldn't stand the hospital smell. But you slept in that chair next to my bed for 6 nights. You held my hand when I was scared. And I never thanked you. Not once. When your mother opened those credit cards in your name, I knew. I saw the statements. I confronted her. She said you owed us for raising you. That this was just family helping family. I knew it was wrong. But I was too afraid to stop her. Too afraid of what it would mean for my marriage if I chose you over her. I never sent you those letters I wrote because I knew if I mailed them, I'd have to follow through. I'd have to be brave. I couldn't do it. You asked me once why I never fought for you. The answer is simple and unforgivable. I was weak. I am weak. And you deserved a father who wasn't. I know you won't respond to this letter. I'm not asking you to. I just needed you to know that I see it now. All of it. Everything I did and didn't do. Every moment I chose comfort over courage. You built something beautiful, Lunara. Not just that penthouse. You. You built yourself into someone strong and kind despite us, not because of us. I wish I could take credit for any part of who you became, but I can't. You did that alone. I hope you're happy. I hope you found peace. You earned it. I'm sorry I never said this when it mattered. Dad. I read it 3 times. The first time my hands shook with anger. The second time tears blurred the words. The third time, I just felt tired. He saw everything, knew everything, did nothing. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Not to forget. But because some apologies come too late to change anything, they can only mark the place where something ended. Sayao. Life moved forward anyway. By August, I'd been promoted to lead engineer at my company. In September, I gave a talk at a Women in Tech conference. When family becomes fraud, protecting yourself legally and emotionally. The video went viral. 800,000 views in 2 weeks. Podcast interviews followed. A literary agent reached out about a book deal. I said yes to some opportunities, no to others. I was learning that I could choose. Uncle Robert and I had dinner every Tuesday now. He'd become the father figure I'd needed all along. One night, sitting in his backyard while Madison and her girlfriend grilled burgers, he said something that stuck with me. Your dad showed me pictures of your penthouse once, right after you bought it in 2023. He cried, said he was proud but didn't know how to tell you. I stared at my beer. He had 2 years. I know, and he wasted all of them. Robert paused. I think he was ashamed, knew you'd done it completely on your own, knew he'd never helped. Some people can't handle witnessing someone else's success when they feel like failures themselves. That's not my responsibility to fix. No, Robert agreed. It's not. And you're right not to take it on. Madison came over with a plate of food. You two being depressing again? Just honest, I said. She grinned. Honesty is our brand now. Speaking of which, we hit 10,000 subscribers on the podcast today. Our podcast, Survived This, Stories of Family Trauma and Recovery, had launched in October. We interviewed other survivors, shared resources, created community. It was helping people. Real people with real stories like mine. Jenna Martinez had been a guest on episode 3. She talked about going back to college, about finishing her degree at 31, about learning to trust again. At the end, she said, Lunara gave me permission to fight back. Sometimes that's all it takes. One person showing you it's possible. Grandma Diane listened to every episode from her assisted living apartment. I visited her every Sunday with tea and those photo albums she loved. She'd tell me the real stories behind each picture, the ones the family never talked about. The time Eris stole money from her own mother to pay for Celia's pageant entry. The time Callan knew about it and helped cover it up. I should have said something sooner, Grandma told me one afternoon. But I don't know what I thought. That it would resolve itself somehow. You're saying something now, I told her. That's what matters. Sanan. December brought the first snow Seattle had seen in 3 years. Just a light dusting, but enough to make everything look clean and new. I stood on my balcony watching it fall, wrapped in a blanket, drinking hot chocolate. My phone buzzed. A text from Callan. I saw the article about your promotion. You looked happy in the photo. I'm glad. I read it twice. Thought about responding. Thought about all the things I could say. Instead, I deleted it. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They're meant to be mourned and then left behind. January 2026, 1 year since the nightmare began. I decided to host a dinner party. The first real one since reclaiming my home. I wanted to fill this space with people who'd chosen me, not people I was obligated to love. The guest list: Uncle Robert and his wife, Madison and her girlfriend, Grandma Diane in her wheelchair, Jenna Martinez, who drove up from Portland with her boyfriend, Vanessa Chen, who'd become a friend beyond just my lawyer, Brandon Shaw. Yes, I invited him, because his courage to tell the truth deserved recognition. David Park, the building manager who'd ultimately done the right thing. 3 coworkers who'd supported me through everything. I cooked. Actually cooked. Roast chicken, garlic potatoes, roasted vegetables, homemade bread. The things my mother never taught me, but I learned on my own. The table was full. Laughter echoed off walls that used to hold lies and now held joy. At one point, Uncle Robert raised his glass. To Lunara, who taught us all what real strength looks like. To family, I corrected, looking around the table. The kind you choose. Glasses clinked. Grandma squeezed my hand. Later, after everyone left, I stood in my living room looking at the remnants of the evening. Empty wine glasses, crumpled napkins, the comfortable mess of people who'd actually been welcome. This space was mine again, truly mine. Doubt. The next morning, I woke up knowing what I needed to do. I'd been living with a temporary nameplate on my door, the standard building-issued one with just my apartment number. But I wanted something permanent, something that meant what it needed to mean. I ordered a custom bronze plate. Simple. Elegant. No bitter declarations, no defensive statements. Just, Lunara Brooks' home. It arrived 3 days later. I installed it myself, carefully unscrewing the temporary plate, positioning the new one, tightening each screw slowly. I stepped back and looked at it. My name, my home. No asterisks, no explanations, no apologies. My phone buzzed. Another text from Callan. Can we talk? I know I don't deserve. I didn't read the rest. I blocked the number. Then I walked back into my apartment and locked the door from the inside. Some people say family is everything. They're wrong. Safety is everything. Peace is everything. Integrity is everything. Self-respect is everything. Family is only valuable when it protects those things, not violates them. I didn't lose my family. I escaped them, and I built something better. The penthouse they tried to steal? It was never really about the property. It was about whether I'd let them rewrite my story, whether I'd disappear quietly like they expected. I didn't. And if you're listening to this, if you're in a situation where the people who claim to love you are actually hurting you, please hear this. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Your boundaries are not betrayal. Your clarity is not cruelty. Standing up for yourself is not selfish. Document everything. Trust your gut. Find your people, the ones who choose you without conditions. And know that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who share your DNA but not your values. I'm Lunara Brooks. This is my home. This is my story. And no one gets to rewrite it but me. Oh, thank you for staying with me through all 3 parts of this story. I know it was heavy. I know it was hard. But if it helped even one person recognize the patterns in their own life, if it gave even one person permission to fight back or walk away, then sharing it was worth it. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this message has traveled. Tell me your story, if you're comfortable. You're not alone. I'll keep telling these stories, mine and others, because silence protects predators and empowers abusers. And I'm done being silent. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, choose yourself. Choose peace. Choose the family that chooses you back. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.